years ago as the Canyon Crest project owned by the Shop-Off Group. The project application was deemed complete under the previous, now 28-year-old general plan because of legal issues. The Planning Commission approved the project on a 3-2 vote. I appealed it to the council, and before they could decide, in 2008, the Freeway Complex Fire burned the entire property. Shop-Off was then foreclosed on. The site reverted to Old Standard Life Insurance Company, who also went bankrupt and are now under a court-supervised receivership by the state of Idaho. Their appointed trustee has brought back a slightly scaled-back project of 3 less homes and lesser grading, now known as Madrona. That's the project before you tonight. There are several major points that we hope you'll keep in the forefront of your mind as you listen to all sides of the arguments on Madrona. I have 5 of them. Number 1, this project is not brought to you by a Brea landowner. It's brought by the state of Idaho, who is overseeing the dismantling of a bankrupt insurance company who got the property from a bankrupt LLC. All they want to do, and they've been upfront about this, is get it entitled, take the money for their investors who took a bad gamble on this particular investment, and run. The city of Brea shouldn't feel obligated to bail them out by approving this project. Number 2, planning. Yes, conceptual drawings of the homes are pretty, but please don't be fooled. This project is all about planning, about proposing a very large development that will use a lot of water in a very narrow canyon known to burn with only one road to get you out. And it goes against the hillside values Brea citizens have shared with the council during numerous community outreach events. Number 3, land use and EIR discrepancies. And for people, so use acronyms correctly, EIR, Environmental Impact Report. This project goes against both the Carbon Canyon Specific Plan, or CCSP, and the Hillside Management Ordinance, HMO. Madrona involves grading slopes greater than 30%, which violates the HMO. You'll find all the particulars in several of our attorneys' letters. The EIR response states that the HMO doesn't pertain to the CCSP. I hope you'll follow along with all the acronyms as I go. You have a recent letter from Glenn Parker and me explaining why we believe that it does. We were on the council in 1994 when the HMO was put in place, and it clearly states, and I quote, "The development standards, guidelines, and provisions of the HMO shall be applied to parcels of land which currently exist within or are annexed into the city of Brea and having slopes of 10% or more. The provisions of these regulations shall apply to all projects relating to, amongst many other planning documents, specific plans," end quote. Ask yourselves, why would we have put the HMO in place, leaving out hillside land within the city's limits? We didn't, and you can read the ordinance. I would also urge you to really go over our attorney's letters to understand our deep concerns with the Environmental Impact Report findings. While all are relevant, the fire, loss of oak woodlands, and traffic comments should be of particular interest to you. It's especially amazing to us that public safety, particularly fire protection and its ramifications, was not also called out as an unavoidable significant adverse impact. The EIR states that the entire Carbon Canyon area is classified as a, and this is a technical term, very high fire hazard severity zone. These signs just went up, where 28 fires have burned just in the last 30 years. 28 fires in 30 years. Number 4, why you can say no. Besides our issues with the planning documents, attorneys tonight will no doubt explain to you that the city has every legal right to approve the appeal and deny the Madrona project because of 3 unavoidable significant adverse impacts. You guys are going to get sick of saying that, and so will we. These are identified in the EIR, the most for any Brea project. Certainly the developer can threaten to sue, but the fact that these impacts are identified gives the council all the reasons necessary to turn Madrona down and be successful in court. number 5. What about those statements of overriding consideration? Given the ability to process under the old general plan, Madrona still must ask you to make the 3 statements because their project can't mitigate or make go away these problems. They're asking you to find that the benefits to Brea are so great, they're so great, that you should shoo aside the fact that this project will not be able to overcome the air quality issues, the loss of over 1,000 rare oak and walnut trees, and the worst of all, the traffic problems that this project brings. The CCSP states that the preservation of significant natural resources, specifically the oak trees, are a goal of the city. The old general plan says that the city should, and I quote, manage stands of large oak trees as a unique natural and visual resource, end quote. Not cut them down, not replace them in non-native areas with tiny trees which may not survive and are going to take a lot of water, but preserve and manage those unique resources. Remember, traffic means more than time sitting in that parking lot we call Carbon Canyon Road at rush hour. It means that emergency vehicles may have a hard time getting to a heart attack, stroke, or car accident victim. Fire and other public safety personnel might not be able to fully engage in fighting fires in the canyon because they can't get there in congestion. And since there's only one way in and only one way out of this area, evacuations can be a dicey proposition no matter what time of day. Finally, benefits. What benefits? Brea does not need this project to meet its state-mandated housing needs numbers. You have plenty, and you've all done a great job on that. Sales tax dollars that will purportedly fill Brea's coffers may not be as much as you think. For instance, the shops at Chino Hills are closer to the project than the Brea Mall, as are many other amenities. And even if the projections are correct, it would only represent a 0.2% increase in sales tax revenues. The impact fees are talked about. They'll only pay for the development of the project. If it weren't built, there's no impacts. It's a wash. And a recent Orange County Register article just pointed out that the cost of fighting just one fire could cancel out any monetary benefits to Brea. So we don't see a whole lot of benefits to this project. Finally, the cost-benefit analysis of building homes in a known fire area must be taken into consideration from the worst-case scenario. No matter how fire-safe you think these homes are being built, they're being built on the ridge lines where fires run fastest. You can't outrun them. Following the 19 firefighter deaths in Arizona, new wildland fire guidelines are beginning to discuss prioritizing firefighter lives over protecting dwellings in these very high fire hazard severity zones. When people lose their homes from fires and other natural disasters like landslides, they will look to recoup their lost assets by turning to those with deep pockets. The state of Idaho will be gone. The home builder will be gone. And that leaves the city of Brea. Information from this hearing could be used to determine the outcome of lawsuits after such an event. So this project is one that affects all taxpayers of Brea, not just those in the Canyon area and surrounding. I've given you the outline of our saga. Other members of our appellant team will fill in the finer details on water, fire, traffic, policy, and the legal framework. We believe these topics will convince you that Madrona is a project that Brea does not need.